live from the city. This is the High Valuation Code with Matteo Turi.
And very welcome everybody again to another episode of the High Valuation Code. And hello, Matteo, how are you doing?
Not too bad. Thank you so much, Francisco.
Right, excellent. So today we are revisiting one of the most important conversations we ever had. That happened a couple of months ago already, but we are going to revisiting this one because I think it's very important and probably one of the hidden gems that you have in the book here, the Fail Pivot Scale that is already available in Amazon. And I'm going to give you a little advance. If you go on chapter, if you don't have the book, but if you go on chapter 3, the Small Founder's Guide for IP Monetization, this is one of the things that many times are not monetized and actually are escaping the people's capacity to say, oh yeah, this is an extra revenue stream. And we're going to explain everything today. But the fact is, if you miss this concept the first time around as a founder or as a current entrepreneur or having revenue or scaling or growing your company, it may be costing your business more than any market downturn, competitor, or economic shock. So today we are going to address this specifically, the hidden IP sitting on your balance sheet. And you say, how that come? Well, we're going to spend this today. So let me put this in another way. And the 90% of your business is something that you cannot see. And now, Matteo, I think when people hear intellectual property, they often think in patents, trademarks, lawyers, technology companies like AI or that kind of things. But you have repeatedly argued, you, Matteo, that most or almost every business already possesses intellectual property and simply doesn't recognize it. So, and I think that this is very important. And why so important today specifically?
Yeah, the question is really about an historical moment that we're living. Right. But it's not something that happened suddenly. Today, the 92% of the value of the S&P 500 is made of intangible. Now that was 17% in 1975. So in the last 50 years, we've seen a big transformation in our economy. Today, your data, your algorithm are actually worth more money for an investor than buildings, machinery. Your brand is more important than what you may think, something tangible you own in your business. That is so profound for really so many people to understand. And the reason why it is more profound than ever is because there is a divide between economies that have embraced this, like, for example, the USA kept dominating, continue to dominate the world because they know how to dominate with intangible.
Right.
And it's a fact that you got so many examples of big businesses that are not replicated anywhere else in the world, where the value is intangible. One of the biggest example of all is, for example, Disney. Yeah, Disney.
Yeah.
There is a world of intangible assets there, where they repurpose every little production they make. So it's a fact of the matter is that we enter an economy where the majority of the value is invisible.
Right.
You read a financial statement, there's nothing that will tell you, okay, that's the value. Most entrepreneurs, they still think like the industrialist. They focus on sales, they focus on products, they focus on cost. In the meantime, investors increasingly focus on assets that never appear properly on financial statements. Yeah.
Right.
And this is where you dominate economy by selling more to customer. So we're talking about processes, talking about systems, we're talking about methods, data, relationships, knowledge, algorithm, brands,
Yeah.
reputation. All these are part of your intellectual property. The irony is that many businesses already possess extraordinary intellectual property. They just simply do not know it.
Yeah.
And if you don't know where your value sits, you just cannot monetize it. You cannot scale it, or you cannot even defend it. And this is where really the my 2017 program for the university was particularly concentrated on. Now, 9 years have gone since 2017, and
Yeah.
since then, artificial intelligence has made this subject even more inevitable.
Right. No, and I think that actually you mentioned something that I would love to keep in mind all the time. Last week, I was talking to a founder that they did a platform with AI embedded. It's related to capture certain portion of the market, a very specific portion of the market for investors that want to invest in real estate, et cetera, et cetera. So very, very niche, very specific, very key. And this is what happened. He showed this platform to the bank, to the people that they were doing business with, and the bank say, "We want to buy it." Yeah. And when he shared that piece of knowledge with me, my alarm bells were everywhere. I said, "What do you mean buying? They want to license this because actually that's the mindset is different." And I said, "No, no, no. I'm going to sell it because my know-how is my know-how, so I can replicate this everywhere else." And we are talking about here in somebody that actually is a very, very mature entrepreneur, investor, enterprise person. But the concept of intellectual property in terms of licensing his knowledge, his capacities, his platform in this case, in this particular case, was very, very shallow. I was very surprised because, and this is a real case, by the way. This is something that told me this. So in that meeting, I think I was looping back to him later in the week, and I said, probably you have to reconsider this because it's exactly the same things that you said, Matteo. So it's not just about your knowledge in your head, it's what exactly the bank is seeing as value. It's not the software and the coding that see a value, it's all the things that are implied in there that actually where is the value. So probably you selling this, and if you have a very interesting entity wanted to buy it, it means actually probably in the back end, they are going to license these to all the rest of the community. So probably you're losing millions compared to hundreds that you are considering at this point. Now, answer is pending. I don't know what will happen there, but the reality is actually even today, companies consider that actually the transferring of the paper of the ownership is just a value, not whatever is all the things are implied in there. So I wanted to bring down an example because I think it's very important today how this little distinction that I'm going to buy it and licensing something is so crucial. So if we start with something bigger, Matteo, if you don't mind, or a bigger picture, because I think most people underestimate how much business valuation has changed.
Yeah, this is really a massive realization. I mean, you know,
Yeah,
and people unfortunately confuse valuation with an event, with a financial calculation. Valuation is making money today, more money today.
yeah,
It's not about, oh, I'm gonna wait until I sell, then I worry about what the valuation is all about, you
yeah,
know. About 50 years ago, and let's face it, our education system, they really still they still they still organize according to what was our economy 50 years ago. Most company value came from physical assets,
right,
factories, machinery, property, inventory. So that was the S&P 500 in 1975. Today is different, you know. The world has really moved on, and today that relationship has completely reversed.
Right.
The majority of corporate value now comes from intangible assets. Think about the world's largest businesses. Their value is not sitting in buildings. Yeah, when you think about Apple, IBM, do you think the value is building? No, it's not. It's
Right.
sitting in software. It's sitting in data, in brands, in processes, in networks, algorithms. And
Yeah.
guess what? In AI-driven economies, this is just gonna get more and more um, exaggerated towards that. You're gonna have so much more value coming from that. That's where investors are going. That's where
Yeah.
banks are going. That's where customers are going. So if you really want to be successful with your business, you have to understand what your intellectual property can do to your business, not because you want to sell, because you want to sell your business. It's because you want to sell more to your customer today. You want to sell value, not price,
Right.
because
Right.
the customer will retain your value. So the world effectively has moved from a tangible economy to an intangible economy, but that's been decades ago, and many people do not seem to have understood what that
Yeah.
implies. Most
Yeah.
businesses did not move from a
Yeah.
tangible economy to an intangible economy,
Yeah.
and that's the reason why we're talking today.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And yeah, just I don't want to repeat the example, but that is very clear that actually even mature investors today is still in a kind of an intangible transactional economy rather than the intangibles that the things are moving through. And I think that that's where the big opportunity sits. So because many smaller businesses, particularly, still operate as if value comes only from selling products and services. And today we are showing what happened on the other side, how the bigger organizations do it. So you can utilize the same principles and apply it to your organization. That's right. So sorry,
Yeah, no,
go ahead,
exactly. I
Martin.
was gonna say this. I was going to confirm to what you say. They are sitting on hidden assets.
Yeah,
Those assets could increase valuation, but they can improve margins today.
yeah,
They can create a new revenue stream for your business today, not tomorrow, not when you sell. So again, the word valuation is something you design every day, you engineer every day, and then eventually you profit from it. But you profit from it every day, not just when you sell your business. It's
yeah,
about creating licensing opportunities, attract investors, differentiate them from competitors. But yet, they continue treating those assets as an ordinary operating activity. I would say
right,
this there's a big divide between what many people think, like, legal IP and commercial IP.
right,
It's almost as if IP is something defensive and not offensive. What do I mean by offensive and not defensive? Offensive is when it's really a financial engine for your business to make money, your IP. If you treat it just as something that you put in your drawer, then forget about value, forget about actually being on top of the market with your business,
right, right,
because especially with artificial intelligence driven economies, you really are moving from static intellectual property to dynamic intellectual property.
mm,
So it's not something that you hold today and it's not going to change tomorrow. With
yeah,
artificial intelligence, your IP will move every minute because we know what artificial intelligence does. Machine learning is there. It will cause what we know now. It's called recursive self-improvement. It's like a magic wonder. The more you actually use it to create revenue, to create product, the more it improves itself every minute.
right,
So that's
right,
something that, yeah, we also need to consider in the specific moment we're living on.
right. And one I was thinking about when you mentioned this, the current businesses, because I think, well, I brought an example that actually is, perhaps is very easy to identify that there's intellectual property there that can be licensed instead of sold, the software, etc., etc. But if I bring it down to physical companies now. For if I'm watching today, for example, or I run a manufacturing business, right? So it's very physical. You have to bring raw material, produce something, and sell it back. Or a consultancy. Let's put it. Actually, that's not materiality involved. Or an engineering company, or even a local service like business, like somebody doing repairs. What kind of intellectual property might already own these kind of diverse businesses actually are very local, very in the city. They are not global, like the usual examples that we bring here.
I would say this will be a shocking surprise for many,
All right.
because most people think that there's no intellectual property there. But for
Right.
example, you're talking about manufacturing,
Yeah.
business, consultancy, engineering company. For example, what these businesses own, they own a pricing methodology, uh, unique, an onboarding process, which is probably unique,
Right.
your customer acquisition system. Yeah, you might think, oh, well, that's not worth any money. It is.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is. If it becomes a system, it's really it's worth money. Your training framework, I'll give you a few more examples, by the way. Your training
Yeah.
framework, yeah, that's part of your intellectual property. Your sales process, yeah, the way you sell, the way you go from, let's say, mm, a cold start, cold
Right.
email to a conversion into sales. Your supply
Right.
relationships, because let's not forget about the supply chain. There are businesses that are superior fashion businesses. Yeah, they have major advantages because of supply relationship. Your AI workflows. Yeah, obviously
Right.
that's going to be more and more the
Yeah.
case. Your unique delivery model, so if you deliver in a certain manner, then it's unique and you own it. That's part of intellectual property. Your operational playbooks,
Right.
all these are intellectual assets.
Yeah.
And you will not find them on the financial statements because people think, oh, well, why should I bother? That's why, documentation is fundamental as well. The 5 steps of intellectual property, which are identification, codification, protection, commercially embedding, and then transferability.
Right.
Most businesses create this accidentally. So this is shocking. They say, oh, well, I
Yeah.
created wealth. Yes, you did. But very few monetize them deliberately. So that's the big
Right.
thing. That's the big thing. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's I like the word that you use there, like created accidentally, because I believe it's an assumption that is something that is required for you as an owner, as an entrepreneur, as a management team to do these things. But it's true. They never show in the balance sheet because you have your sales team and they have a methodology, the process, the system, the capacity to reach out to close the sales because through the sales cycle that they have. And every industry, even it's tangible, intangible, have their own ways to do things, how to show value, which is how to identify your ideal customers already is intellectual property, I guess. Well, no, I guess actually, because actually many people wish to have the customers that you acquired. So how you acquire them is already a knowledge and a capacity to identify the right customer for your company. Yeah, and yeah, it's very hardly documented anywhere, but everybody do it. So
What
I
is
think
very
that the
shocking,
question,
what is very
yeah,
shocking is the value exists, but
yeah,
the visibility does not exist,
yeah,
It's about you to convert the value into visibility.
yeah,
And I insist on this. This is not about waiting until you sell your business. This is about making more money today for your business,
right,
okay?
right,
So understand what is valuable but not visible, and just
yeah,
make it pay for you, for yourself, for your business. Yeah.
yeah. No, it's amazing, amazing. Actually, thank you for sharing this because I don't think that many companies share this openly, or consultants or experts share this openly, because it seems like to be like something actually, oh, this is a little secret that the big companies are doing, so we're not going to share it with anybody. But here you have it, so you can start to think about this in your daily conversations and how you add value to your organization today. And I think it's a good time to pause here today, because if you're watching live, tell us what part of your business do you think that competitors will struggle to replicate? And this is back to the thing that I mentioned and say, one of the things actually many people struggle, and actually it's a big secret in many organizations, how you profile your customers. But even in the same industries, it can be software or can be physical goods. How you profile your customers in terms of what you're going to your sales, your marketing, your outreach, and your retention and the recurring business, how you do it. And you don't have to share with anybody, but when you start to think about these things, then you will start to see the value that is in your company that probably as Matteo mentioned, come accidentally, but effectively is an intellectual property. Right, so I give you a second. I think that now is a good time, Matteo, to have a pause while people are thinking about these things, or just to relax a bit and say, freaking hell, I need to think about this. But to introduce the book, how the book works.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I would say, yeah, let's give it a 90-second trailer. As you know, Fed Pivot Scale was released in March. The experience comes from the 2017 program that was written for the University of Plymouth, and is the high valuation triangle, the system that was created then. The book has got 26 self-assessment that will help you measure your business against the high valuation triangle. So I highly recommend, that we will just give it this 90 seconds, and we'll see again on the other side. Yeah.
Right. Fantastic. Excellent. Thank you. All right, we are back. Thank you very much for watching the trailer. And coming back to the question, Matteo, I think actually we can, while if you answer these questions or you haven't because we were watching the trailer, but I think like it merits a question here. While you were answering or commenting here, what is the biggest mistake founders make regarding IP? Just put it that way.
Yeah, the biggest mistake, people assume that intellectual property is a legal exercise, and it is not. Right. It starts as a commercial exercise. The legal protection comes later. Legal protection is one of the 5 steps. It's not the first one, by the way. So the first step is recognizing what creates unique value.
Right.
And after you do that, you document it, and after that you protect it. You protect it before commercial embedding. Before
Right.
commercial embedding. That's very, very important because especially in AI-driven economies, if you do not protect it before utilization, you could actually destroy everything that you own that you created. It happened too many times to too many founders. Make sure that you know what you're doing with protection. You have a lawyer that you can speak
Yeah.
to as well. Yeah.
Excellent. Because, and I like what you mentioned there, the AI-driven economies, because many people assume that AI will commoditize absolutely everything. So do you agree with that statement?
No, absolutely. I don't agree. AI will not commoditize everything. AI
Right.
is actually making proprietary assets more valuable.
Right.
So the
Right.
opposite of what many people think, actually,
Yeah.
because AI can generate content, AI can generate code, can generate reports. What
Yeah.
AI cannot easily replicate is unique business architecture.
Right.
So your proprietary data, your market insights, your accumulated expertise, your customer relationships, your operating frameworks. In
Yeah.
other words, I will summarize these. AI is increasing the value of genuine intellectual property, actually.
Right. And that reminds me something that you always say that AI won't replace thinking. So it could do all these things that you mentioned there, like the reports, analysis, content, but actually it won't replace your thinking. It won't replace how you do architecture, your business. So which is a fascinating point because the easier it becomes to create generic outputs, the more valuable unique assets become, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's why business that identify and build proprietary assets today could become dramatically more valuable over the next decade. And this is
Yeah.
where everyone has a big opportunity. I'll give you an example of a business I met a few weeks ago. A
Yeah.
consulting business, they just selling time for money, but they just ignored that what they were actually selling, what they keep selling, is a unique proprietary framework that they sell to customer that can be that can become can become the foundation for a mass product, for example.
Right. Right.
So you could sell your framework, you could sell your unique solution, your unique thinking to millions of people in the world, you know?
Right.
So that's what creates not just the concept of valuation, but it's a commercial engine. We're talking about commercial IP here, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, you mentioned engine there. So you often spoke about something called the IP monetization engine, right? So what that exactly means? So can you unpack this?
Yeah, I'll try and explain this. You're talking
Yeah,
about the intellectual property monetization engine.
yeah,
Most businesses stop at creating value. High
right.
valuation businesses monetize value multiple times. I was previously mentioning Disney, for example. They repackage the same content so many times after they make a movie. So, what do high valuation businesses do? They take expertise and turn it into a system or into
Right.
various system.
Yeah,
Then they take those systems and turn them into assets. Okay,
yeah,
so that's why investors they like this. They say, okay, what do you own? You are creating assets. They take assets and turn them into recurring revenue.
right,
That is the difference. The same intellectual assets can generate revenue, licensing income, partnership, investor interest, market differentiation, high valuation. The objective is not simply to work harder. The objective
yeah,
is to make your knowledge scalable.
right.
And especially in AI-driven economies, that's a big opportunity for many.
Yeah, and sorry, I'm flicking the pages here because I want to find in which page in your book it is, because it's definitely a very valuable point to bring here. Let me see. Yeah, and here is on page 288 of the book, if you haven't checked yet, is why IP is the startup's oxygen. So, and you can use this not only for your startup, but you can use it also for your current company based on all this explanation that Matteo have done. So, and this links directly to the first side of also of your high valuation triangle. It's in page 17 of the book, by the way. So how that links all to the triangle, Matteo, the high valuation triangle.
Well, you mentioned about the high valuation triangle. That's where
Yeah,
it all started. That's
right.
the intellectual property monetization. There are three sides of the triangle. The first one is
Yeah,
intellectual property monetization. The second one is succession planning. The third one is global expansion. Now, each one of them answer a very important question. Okay, intellectual property monetization. Sorry, answer the question: what do you own? Okay.
yeah,
Now, if an investor asks you what do you own, if a bank is asking you what do you own, what's the answer? So
right,
that's where intellectual property monetization starts to give you an answer. The second question you will be asked is how do you transfer value? Because
right,
if you do not transfer value, you're not investable, even if you own intellectual property. So you own something. Now, how do you transfer value? And that's where succession planning comes in. Without succession planning, you do not transfer value because when everything sits in one person's head, it's not scalable. AI cannot scale it, for example.
right,
The third question that you will be asked is how do you scale it? Is it scalable?
right,
And that's where global expansion comes in. So the high valuation triangle is designed to answer the three biggest possible question you are going to have from an investor, from a bank, and also you will answer the question, how do I create more revenue stream? How do I become most commercially successful today? Because it's not just about being chased by investors and by banks. It's about being chased by customer. It's about having customer that will buy from you because your lifetime value, not just a one-off
right,
transaction. And
right.
so those three drivers continue to be the foundation of sustainable valuation growth.
Right, right, and I think well, this brings us back to the book where the failed pivot scale, because one of the central themes of the book is helping entrepreneurs identify the value they already possess. So it's not going to reinvent the wheel. So it's just a realization of oh, this is valuable, and how I can make it evident when I ask these questions. Right.
Yeah, absolutely correct. And most businesses are far more valuable than they realize. Uh, the problem is, as we said before, the economies have moved on so much into intangible
Yeah.
value. The problem is that the value remains trapped, invisible,
Right.
undocumented, unmonetized. The book includes frameworks and scorecards specifically designed to help founders uncover these hidden assets. So you
Right.
find 26 scorecards that you can go back to every moment. Because once you can see the value, you can engineer growth. And once you can engineer growth, you can engineer valuation. And
Right.
let me
Right.
pause here and tell you about a very special initiative that we took together is
Yeah.
about the 12 outcomes in 49 days.
Yeah.
Those 12 outcomes are designed really to transform your business from a business that is founder-led, that doesn't transfer value, that is not scalable, that is probably not even managing well its own cash flow, its finance,
Right.
transformation into a business that instead will be scalable, will monetize the intellectual property that he owns,
Yeah.
and it will sell lifetime value to customers, not just one-off transaction.
Right.
We created a scorecard that you can fill in today, and I think we can send a link for this.
Yeah.
You'll be able to measure your position against those 12 outcomes and against the high valuation triangle immediately, and you will receive a diagnostic that will help you transform your business starting from those 12 outcomes. It might be possible that out of 12 outcomes, you already are scoring well in 5 of them, but the other 7 you are not scoring well of them. Now, it's for you
Right.
to understand which one of those 7 you can actually improve your performance on. And if you need help in 7 out of 12, then there is an opportunity for you to speak to us, and we potentially give you more like a tailor-made solution.
Yeah.
So there's a link here on the chat where you will be able to fill up your evaluation scorecard on your 12 outcomes. You will receive always a diagnostic. All this is obviously for free. There's an enormous intelligence put out there because it's
Yeah.
many years of work. So yeah, I would like to invite you to enjoy really looking at this and how you can measure your business against those 12 outcomes.
Yeah, and it's very important because sometimes these kind of assessments are not seen unless you pay a hefty fee, and then you
Mhm.
get back a PowerPoint with no action points. But actually, the assessment at the end give you specifically where you have to put your attention in what area of your business towards what specific business outcomes. And just I think that we can wrap up today, Matteo, if you're happy with that. Because the most valuable asset in any business may not be your revenue. It may not even your products or your customers, but that invisible intellectual property that are sitting inside the business, and is probably why some people feel so enthusiastic to acquire your business potentially, or to partner with you, because they see these things that you cannot see, and looks very kind of unappealing for yourself, but actually other people look into that and say, freaking, this is amazing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And in AI-driven economies, that invisible value is becoming increasingly important.
Mm,
The businesses that identify, protect, and monetize their intellectual property will increasingly become magnets for customers, for banks, and investors.
right.
The businesses that ignore it may spend years working harder while creating less value. That's,
Yeah.
for me, a real conclusion for today.
Yeah. Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much, Matteo. We already introduced in the conversation, if resonates, complete the 12 outcomes in 49 days scorecard. Look into the book in Amazon, is available there. You have more than 20 positive reviews, Matteo. I think that these verified reviews, by the way, it's not something actually you go and ask people for. So people we have a couple of weeks ago a meeting with somebody in Canada, and when he heard about the book, he bought it right away, and he showed us he was literally studying the book with post-it and marks, because he thought that was incredible to also share that with his own community and how to apply the methodology. So without further ado, I think that we can wrap up for today. Thank you very much for joining us. And the invitation is again for next week at 1:30 p.m. UK time.